Hey, what's going on, y'all? And I'm here to talk about the WWE 2015 Royal Rumble, but this time I'm here to talk about the match, the World Heavyweight Championship match, which included John Cena, Seth Rollins, and the Beast Incarnated, Brock Lesnar. Now, if you haven't heard, Brock Lesnar is still the WWE champion. Which, once again, if you was living under a rock, I would understand if you didn't know, but you had to know that it's going to be Brock and Mr. Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. Excuse me, at WrestleMania. But talking about the Royal Rumble, this match, this triple threat match, of course, you got the world champion Brock Lesnar, you have the 15-time world heavyweight champion John Cena, and you have the Money in the Bank briefcase holder Seth Rollins with J&J Security, and of course Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman. This triple threat match was classic. 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 This was a classic match. I wasn't expecting it to be a classic match, but I really think throwing someone as athletic and talented with the jumping and flexibility and just abilities, period, of a Seth Rollins in this match is what spiced it up. Because John Cena and Brock Lesnar, the only way those two guys can make a good match is if John Cena's just getting his ass whipped. Or if just John Cena's going to lose, period. But this actually, Seth Rollins added suspense to this match. He've added leapability. He've added hardcore. This guy, while he was doing things, people were chanting ECW. That's how much he added to this match. John Cena is going to give you typical John Cena. Brock Lesnar gave you beast mode. If you was to look, I'll say John Cena, he was the last option. He was the person that people wasn't ooh and ahhing about. First came Seth. I don't know. Seth Rollins did this move. He did the elbow drop from off the top rope onto Brock Lesnar on the announce table. We've seen a lot of people do this, Shawn Michaels and you see Punks and others like that, but we haven't seen it in quite a long time. Of course, we know John Cena, muscular ass, couldn't jump that fucking far onto a table or anything, but Brock Lesnar was hit with 3 AAs in a row, and he kept getting back up. And, it was crazy. And then he got curve stomped, and he got back up. When Seth Rollins did the elbow drop off of the top rope onto Brock Lesnar through the announce table, it was said he had broken ribs, so I guess that's going to give Brock Lesnar time off. So do not expect to see him at Fastlane. I really doubt if we will see Brock Lesnar at Fastlane. We're going to see Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And he's going to probably put in more action leading to WrestleMania. But I seriously doubt if we see him at Fastlane. But Brock went through a lot. They went through the barricade. John Cena had tackled him through that. I mean, Brock went through a lot in that match, and he showed that he was a beast by not staying down. I mean, the longest he stayed down is when they said he broke his rib due to the elbow drop into the announce table by Seth Rollins. And John Cena and Seth Rollins, they basically gave you the same thing they did when they meet up. A bunch of reverses, a bunch of moves, a bunch of kickouts at 2.5 and 2.8 and all that shit counts. And I would just have to say it was very, very interesting. That was a classic match. I'm not going to say it was the greatest match of all time, but it probably, I'll put this, it was the greatest match for Seth Rollins. You know, because Brock Lesnar had a lot of classic matches. You know, he had, when he first won the WWE title against The Rock, that was a classic match. Of course, him and Kurt Angle. That was a classic match. I wouldn't count him and Hulk Hogan. Him versus The Undertaker, it wasn't a classic match, but it was a classic moment. So you have to put that up there. Big Show, when he slammed Big Show from the top rope and the ring fell down, that was a classic match. So, you know, this isn't Brock Lesnar's first, I wouldn't say it was his best classic match, but for Seth Rollins, I would say, yeah, this will be his if he have any classic matches. I've seen him with a couple of I don't count that Hell in a Cell, him and Dean Ambrose, because that, it wasn't classic. They, no matter how many times you fall off a cage, you can't keep repeating the same shit. And then Michael Cole, oh my God, wow, and it's like, no, it wasn't that serious. They didn't even fall off top of the cage. They fell from on the cage and probably fell about 5 feet down. You know, they didn't do a mankind fall. I mean, hell, I think Vince McMahon took a bigger bump than they did. You know, Vince McMahon, at least he was, you know, close to the top of the cage. It wasn't a Hell in a Cell cage, but you get my point. But it was a very classic match. John Cena, he rarely have classic matches. As long as he's been world champion, as long as he's been in the WWE period, he hasn't had that many classic matches. To be honest with you, I can just think of maybe 2 or 3 classic matches of John Cena. Of course, him versus CM Punk. I'll probably say him versus The Rock for the first time. And probably a match or 2 on Raw. That's about it. But this was a very, very, very good classic triple threat match. And I'll say it looks good on Brock Lesnar's and Seth Rollins, you know, resume as far as a wrestler. Brock Lesnar came in with the win. He suplexed your boy Seth Rollins out the way, and he caught him in the air and did the whole F5 thing, because Seth Rollins was on top of the rope and he jumped off. I guess he was going to give him the knee, and Brock just caught him, F5'd his ass, and that was all she wrote. John Cena, basically the same moves. And as you can hear, I really don't care for John Cena. I really don't. I mean, John Cena being a champion, I don't feel it. Like, you got to pay attention. Brock Lesnar, no, he don't wrestle that much, but when he does, it's ratings. He draws in ratings. He make people say, oh, I might start watching wrestling again. Brock Lesnar's back. You know, John doesn't have that. By the time John Cena wrestled, the kids are in bed, asleep. They got to hear about it at school or internet or whatever the case, or daddy got to tell him what happened early in the morning when he's getting ready for work and son's getting ready for school. But Brock Lesnar, he was a champion in high school of wrestling. He was a champion in college of wrestling. He's an Olympic gold champion, medalist, and he also became world champion, one of the youngest world champions when he came into the WWE by, like I said, defeating The Rock. And he left. He wanted to pursue his career in football. That didn't quite work out well, but I think that's the only thing that stopped him from perfection. If he would have survived the football thing and at least got, I don't know, Defensive Player of the Year, or because if he would have won a Super Bowl, Paul Heyman will not shut the fuck up. Trust me. If Brock Lesnar would have won a Super Bowl and then went to the UFC and won the title and then came back to WWE to win again, Paul Heyman would be, boy, it'll be too much for me to here. But he accomplished all this. I mean, he went through real fighting. So you can't make Brock Lesnar look like some, whatever. I don't think you should let John Cena even beat him. You have to let someone who you're comfortable with leading the new era of wrestling, which, like I said, a Roman Reigns, a Daniel Bryan, or, someone who actually, only reason you can add Roman Reigns in that is just because of the power. That's it. But Daniel Bryan he's not even a powerful guy, but he has so many tactics that he can just, submission, reversals. Like, I think that would be an interesting match to see someone as small and short and quick and reversible as Daniel Bryan versus a guy who's so stiff and cocky and strong and beast mode as with Brock Lesnar. I think that really would have made a good WrestleMania. If you really want your WrestleMania to bang, I think that would have been the way to go. Even though I don't want to see Daniel Bryan as the champion, I would like to see Brock Lesnar hold that belt as long as he can until people actually don't like him. Because right now, people actually like him. He shows up. It's cheers everywhere. But, I mean, hold it for a point where you're like, can someone please beat him? Can someone save us from the Brock Lesnar era? So, and no, I don't think it should be a Roman. I did think it should be a Roman Reigns at first, but then you realize it's just a power versus power match if that happened. And we all know how Brock Lesnar does with power versus power matches. We've seen that with him and Bill Goldberg. That match sucked. I think Daniel Bryan would have been a good fit because I'm tired of seeing him versus John Cena. I'm tired of seeing Brock and John Cena, period. I really am. So, yeah, I really think that Daniel should have either won the Royal Rumble or whatever the case, or not participated in the Royal Rumble at all. At least that would have hyped up Roman Reigns, But anyway, Brock Lesnar still WWE World Champion. Like I said, you should have seen this coming. I've known this. I know he was going to keep the belt all the way to the Royal Rumble. And, spoiler, he's supposed to lose it at the Royal Rumble to Roman Reigns. I don't know if it's going to change because people are booing Roman Reigns now. We'll see how it goes on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. If they're going to boo him, cheer him, it might be a different crowd, might be a different, type of people there. Who knows? But I can say this. I love Brock Lesnar as a world champion. I think he should keep it until someone can come in and dethrone him. Even if you give it to him to a point where his contract runs up and he leaves with that ugly ass belt, create a new belt. Create a new belt and let Brock Lesnar leave for a long. See, this is why I need to be on the WWE creative team. I really do. I would let Brock Lesnar beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. His contract runs up, and they try to do the contract on Raw, and the contract doesn't add up. It's not what he won. It's not what he, or just don't do it at all, and you just never see Brock Lesnar for a good long time. And then you bring in a new belt, maybe an old belt, maybe the old Ric Flair belt. I don't know. Just don't bring back that John Cena belt. I hate it. It looks stupid. It was too much going on. And please, and I hate the new belt that we have now. That one that The Rock brought in, and now Brock Lesnar have. It looks too plain. It looks too stupid. It doesn't says WWE. even though it's WWE on it, bright as fucking day and big as hell, but it just doesn't, I don't see it. It doesn't look right. Bring back a new, I would love for them to bring back the Attitude Belt, but they can't bring back the Attitude Belt if it's not an Attitude Era. We're in the rated PG era. You know, so we can't bring back the Attitude Belt, which I understand that completely. At least bring back the heavyweight title. Make that the main title. It should have always been the main title. But, you know, this one, that's what I'm talking about. They're not going to bring it back because I got it. But it's okay. I'll give it back to them if they, you know, promise to bring it back. But, yeah, and build up someone. Give it to Roman Reigns. I don't know. Build it up. Let Brock Lesnar do what he do and leave for months and months and months. And then, when you think Brock Lesnar quit and just left the WWE and not returning and all this shit, he comes back with his belt. With Paul Heyman. I mean, you don't see Paul Heyman. You don't see Brock Lesnar. You don't see none of these guys. And whoever holding this belt or the new title that they bring in or whatever the case may be should become a guy who's looking for a fight, wants to fight. And when they realize no one's going to fight, out of nowhere, Brock Lesnar come back face to face, and you got Paul Heyman talking about how he's not the real champion, whoever he is, Roman Reigns or Daniel Bryan or whoever it is. You're not the world champion. This guy has never been defeated for his belt and blah, 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 blah. And then you can take the belt from Brock Lesnar. You know, but I don't want that to lead to a unified world title shit again. I hated that, them walking around with two belts or whatever. I mean, just to, you know, put the, what do you call that shit? Put the what? It's a saying. Put the nail in the, no, not the nail in the coffin. Nip it in the bud. Nip it in the bud. They beat Brock Lesnar to nip the shit in the bud. And say, okay, that's over. No more belts. I'm the real champion. I'm the true champion. Blah, blah, boom, boom. And we're done. But WWE is not going to think that. They're basically going to do the simple thing that everyone knows, everyone expects. And that's why wrestling isn't the same no more, because it's so predictable now. You know what's going to happen. And then when they do surprise you, they don't go along with it. They surprise you for a week. Well, not a week. One night a week, they surprise you. And then, not one night a week. One night in a week, they surprise you. And then when you wonder how far this surprise is going to stretch, the next week, it's nothing. Nothing at all. It's just like when Sting showed up. It was horrible. Sting looked old. He is old, but he looked old with the paint. I was like, what? I'm sorry. I don't want the TNA Sting. I don't want that Sting. I don't want Sting with his hair slicked back, looking like a lawyer with paint on his face. A lawyer with paint on his face? An old lawyer with paint on his face. I want Sting, the real Sting. I want his hair to be dripping over his face and sides and shit. Dye his hair back black or dark brown. Put some extensions in it or something. This thing just looked like he's like begging to be buried into his retirement home of wrestling. Really. But, I got all off topic here. I done went into the future of wrestling and shit. But, like I said, overall, this match with Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, and John Cena was awesome. It was great. It was classic. Top 10 classic? I don't know. I would have to look through a whole archive and look at plenty of matches. But you might slip it in there at some point. Royal Rumble matches? Yes, this will probably be in your top 5. Royal Rumble matches alone. Yeah, depending on how old you are. If you go back to your Shawn Michaels days and your, Hulk Hogan days and shit, you might not slip it in there. But past 15, 20 years, yeah, should be in your top 5. But let me know what y'all thought about this match. Who y'all thought should have won? Was it good for Brock to win? Did you already know Brock was going to win? Did you hope John Cena would have won? And your predictions of WrestleMania, even though we already should know this. But if you got a better storyline than mine about leading to WrestleMania and after WrestleMania, let me know about it. And remember, thumbs up, comment. Peace.